Hello there, welcome to another Starfield ship review video. In today's video we're going to be looking at the Raptor, or in my case the Raptor 3. So the number after the name is just the tier of the vessel. The higher the number, the better the base stats of the ship. Aesthetically, the ship will remain the same throughout the tiers. So this being the tier 3 version, it's the highest tier you can get, I believe. This one has, for instance, its reactor is 26 power. If you get a tier 2 version, the reactor might only be 24, and a tier 1, the reactor might only be 20. But like I said, aside from that, the ship aesthetically is the same. So I did a review on a ship that's based on this called the Datura in the past, and I finally got around to getting the original ship, the Raptor. And as you can see, it's mainly Nova Galactic with some Tayo influence, some Tayo pieces. It's a very cool looking ship. Extremely cool. It feels like a proper, like kind of a combat fighter type ship. So let's look at the stats. So we've got a fuel of 280, which quite good. As I always say, anything over 200 is pretty good. It's got a hull of 730, which again is really good for an A class. Like we're almost like a lot of C classes seem to kind of sit around 1,000 hull, so having like almost 800 hull, 750 technically, is really, really good. So it's got a cargo capacity of 220, which isn't an awful lot, but then considering this is meant to be a combat vessel, that's not bad by any margin. It's got an A-class reactor with 26 power, which isn't bad for A-class, it's quite good. The highest reactor you can get in A-class is 33, so there is potential for upgrade. It holds a crew of 4, which, again, it's not too bad. Now, considering this is meant to be like a kind of a combat vessel, I'm assuming the 4 crew comes from, there might be a control station there behind the cockpit. So you could potentially swap that out if you want a more kind of solo-oriented ship. Jump drive's lacking a little bit at only 220 light years, but that's an easy fix. Thankfully, jump drives are one of those ships, or one of those modules that don't require a lot of perks or levels to get the best ones. It's got a shield of 650, which again is not too bad. I believe the highest shields for A-class about 800, so we'll have to look in to see if we can upgrade that. And then it's got laser weapons, ballistic, and missiles. It's got a single laser weapon mount. No, it's got dual laser weapons mounted on those horizon weapon points. You can see them there on the bottom, one there. I believe they're the Singe weapons. It's got that single ballistic weapon mounted on the starboard side, or the port side. No, starboard, that's right, sorry. The starboard side, and then it's got the missile launcher mounted on the port side. So this ship cost me 137,300, and that price will change depending on what your perks are and what tier it is. I have the perk for basically making things cheaper. So I found this on Neon, at the Neon vendor here in the little Neon kiosk. Now, this was kind of tricky to find. Most of the time when I do ship reviews, I tend to like find them pretty quickly. This one was a bit of a nightmare. I think I spent like 2 hours kind of resetting the inventory. So this is where I found it, on Volai, on Neon. Now, it can apparently spawn on Cheyenne, and I believe it can pretty much spawn anywhere, because I'm like 90% sure I found one on Titan, but I normally, when I see a ship like that I haven't reviewed yet, I make a save, and then I come back to it later, but I forgot the save, so I had to find it. But yeah, so if you want to find it, it's usually sold in any of the vendors, the generic vendors, the ones that don't have names. I found mine on Neon. So we're going to quickly jump to the usual spot to do the walkthrough and teardown. Alright, so here we are in the usual spot. So as you can see, it's, like I said, it's a pretty cool design. It has that sort of like kind of, when you think of like a sci-fi like space fighter, it makes good use of those let me show you real quick on the back. So it's got a Tayo landing gear there, they're the pinpoint landing gear, and then it has these ones as well. These are also Tayo, these are rear landing gear, and they're kind of sitting on these little engine braces. And the cool thing about these is when you like throttle up with the engine and throttle down, these actually burn. So they look like engines, which is kind of funny because they don't actually provide any thrust. Anyway, we're going to get in the interior. There's not much to the ship. It's quite small, just like one tier, but it's all good, all the same. So we've got the Nova Galactic Nova Galactic entryway. I like this one. You got the windows, a bit small, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to climb up into it. So immediately we have, we have a crew control station here. Got some seats here for your crew to do their jobs. This is what's giving us the extra crew capacity. Got some storage there. We've got a little window looking out the starboard side, and we have another one on the port, which is really, really nice. And then back behind here, we have a 1x1 storage room with a docking bridge on top. We have these two windowed areas here, like port and starboard, and I don't know, I think it's... Jesus Christ, that scared the life out of me. Ladder. I think these are here because of the window, but I quite like them. They kind of add more. They break up the room quite a lot, but it's a bit of a tight squeeze. I suppose it's not too bad though. And then, like I said, docking bay up there. We drop down, and we have a... this is a living quarters, which is quite nice. Now, given that this is quite a small ship, I probably would swap this out for just a captain's quarters, considering... I mean, maybe if you want to, like, roleplay, you know, like a small crew of 2 or 3, this is perfectly acceptable. Obviously, you could also go with a workshop, which is nice to have. So you got multiple beds here. This is why I love Nova Galactic. Pair of slippers. Can I wear them? Damn it. I'm so about to go wear the slippers. Yeah, we've got the little kind of pod areas where you sleep, and they're quite nice, quite detailed. And then we've got a little couch here. And we've got a little table. And we've got more chairs here, and then we've got the door to the toilet. See, Nova Galactic, they get it right. Like, it's not too flashy, like, you know, like Tayo wanting to be. It's not too, like, sterile by, like, some of the Stroud Eklund. And it's not as, like, kind of, like, hand-me-down, like, industrial as Hope Tech. It's kind of a good medium. Anyway, if we come back this way, we have the bridge, which is I really like this bridge. Nova Galactic, again, making bangers. So we've got not an amazing view here, but it fits more with the role of being a combat vessel. Got the pilot seat there, co-pilot seat to the left, and then the navigator to the right. And they're in like these little kind of dips, so you can kind of, when you're standing, you can see them, see what they're doing, which is kind of nice. So we're going to take it up into orbit, see how she performs. I'm expecting good things. The fact that it's a tier 3 vessel makes me think that it's going to perform quite adequately. So we're going to take off, and then you'll see what I mean when the ship takes off. Obviously those engines fire off, but if you look, it might show it there as we take off behind. See, yeah. So those landing gear that are extended out, they actually fire off and look like engines, which is... It's kind of interesting, because someone had to go in and, like, actually, like, physically design them to function like engines, but then they don't add any thrust, which is pretty interesting. So, as always, I have a perk that increases my power by 5. It's called Anatronic Fusion. So for the sake of this video, I'm not going to be using 5 power. Weapon-wise, we've got those dual lasers mounted. We have the single ballistic weapon on the right, and then we have a missile launcher on the top left. So speed-wise, we've got a speed of 150, which isn't too bad. And then we have a boost speed of... I'm going to set up maybe like 5... Boost speed of 580, which again, quite good. Quick agility test. Once we slow down, we pitch up. Yeah, this is very mobile. This is like easily like a 9 or a 10. Yaw. Yaw's a little bit slower, but still fast. It's probably like a 9. And then the roll. As you can see there's the landing gear firing off like engines. It looks cool aesthetically, but it's kind of annoying that it doesn't do anything. Anyway, as usual, we're going to go down to the plant now and do a teardown. Alright, so we're on the teardown. So like I said, there's not much to the ship, so we've only got 2 sections. So at the front here, we have the Magellan C1X cockpit from Nova Galactic, gives 220 cargo and 2 crew station. Behind it, we have the Nova Galactic 2x1 control station, which increases our crew to, it gives +4, but there's like a kind of a, there's like an equation to like how the crew works. Basically, like on A class, you're kind of limited around 4 to 5. And then behind that, we have the Nova Galactic Storeroom 1x1 with a 100 DP Slim Docker. And then if we come back here for weapons, mounted on these Horizon weapon mounts on each side, on the bottom, we have a Singe P 4 megawatt pulse laser from Lightside A class, 1500 range, 6.65 fire rate, 5 hull damage, 16 shield damage, 4 power. And these are... they're pretty, like, they're not bad. Obviously, I prefer to use, if I was using energy weapons, I'd prefer to use 3 power. Then for ballistic weapons, we have the KE-31 cannon from Ballistic Solutions Incorporated, A class, 1500 range, 3.49 fire rate, 27 hull damage, 4 power once again. So yeah, they're kind of like a lot of power going to the weapons, and that's not necessarily a problem, but I'd like to, if you know, like if you're stuck with a very specific reactor and you have to kind of need a bit of wiggle room, I prefer having more for shields than weapons. And then we have on the opposite side here, we have the CE-19 missile launcher from Ballistic Solutions Incorporated, A class, 4800 range, 1 fire rate, 80.84 hull and shield damage, and 3 power. So at the back here, we have the SGD 1400 grav drive from Slayton Aerospace, A class, 9 max power, 19 grav jump thrust, which in this configuration gives us 22 light years. Now we can improve upon that quite easily, so we're going to go to the grav drives. And we're going to get, this is a pretty light vessel, so we'll see. Okay, so, okay. So obviously this is the, what did I say? This is the SDG, okay. So this one here, this R400, if we equip this, it gives us the max range of 30 light years. Now it requires Starship Design 2, and it costs an extra 4k. It's not that hard. I think it's like, you'd be like maybe level like 20 to get it, which isn't too bad to get. And obviously it gives us an extra 8 jump drive, which would allow us to come to 30. And then on top we have the 50S Protector Shield Generator from Dogstar, A class, 7 max power, and gives us 650 shields. Now there is a 60 version of that shield, which I'm kind of surprised it wasn't on it to begin with. This is it here. So the main difference is this requires 1 extra power and it gives 810 shield instead of 650. So an extra 160 shields. And it requires Starship Design 4. Whereas this one only required 3, and then it's an extra 4k. Now, there is another alternative, if I can find it. Where's this one here? Yeah, so if you want, the max you can get is this one here. But it's a bit kind of awkward looking, so most people wouldn't go with it. But if you want to modify the ship a little bit, like you change the aesthetic, you can go with this one. But like, what is that? Like 860 versus 810, like 50. It's not really worth kind of fretting over. And then we have these White Dwarf 1010 engines from Melodyne. They're A class, 3 max power. They give 7950 engine thrust and 2535 maneuvering thrust. And that gives us the current config as 99 mobility. Now there is better versions of them engines. Let me just check. We come to them real quick. So yeah, so these are the 1010. Now there is 1020, which would increase the engine thrust by a little bit, and the maneuvering thrust by a little bit too. Now something to note here is it would require some fine-tuning, but if you wanted to boost the speed, you could potentially make use of these here. These ones here, if I was to pull these out, these ones give you a speed of 180, which is kind of a big jump, but obviously it would require fiddling with it. We'll see at the end if we can get it to work, but it's just an alternative. I don't believe there's any I kind of wish there was like a 10-15 version of the smaller engines. And then for the fuel, we have the 400G helium-3 fuel tank, 140 fuel. And then for aesthetic pieces, like I was saying, we have 2 of these Horizon weapon mounts, and then we have 4 windows, portholes there each side, and we've got the Docker, obviously. And then on the bottom of the ship, we have the NG6 landing bay for Nova Galactic. Behind that, we have the Nova Galactic all-in-one berth 2x1B. And then we have the Tokamak 250 reactor from Xi'an, A class, 26 power. I believe that's the best tokamak reactor, but obviously we can go slightly better. If we were to go the route of the Spheromatic here, we could slap in its place. Now, the only issue with this is if we put this here like so, it would work fine, but we would lose the snap point on this fuel tank. So we'll see when we do the teardown, like if we can kind of make it work, essentially. And then for the aesthetic pieces, we have the fuel tank, sorry, as well. It's another one of the 400G. And then for landing gear, we have 6 landing gear. We have 2 of these pinpoint starboard fort, and then 2 starboard mid and port mid, and then a pinpoint 3G landing gear aft, port aft, and starboard aft, and then 2 of these shroud engine bracers. Now these are all the same style of engine. They're all literally that one there. You can just kind of swap between them. So we're going to put the ship back together, and we're going to work on some upgrades. So first thing is, I'm going to, like I was saying, we're going to slip the grav drive out, and we're going to put in a better one. There's the R400 there. We're going to slap that there. Shield generator next. We're going to increase the shield to the 600S one there. Perfect. And then for the... So I'm trying to see how we could potentially go about doing... Because in the current configuration, like, it's completely fine, but I feel like it'd be nice to get 180 speed. So we're going to try that very briefly. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to fiddle around to see if I can, because it might take me a bit of time, see if I can get them, and then I'll come back to you. Alright, so it took a little bit of time, but I managed to figure out a way to mount those engines. Now, this method uses the merge technique, so if you can't really be... If you don't really want to do that sort of a technique, or, you know, for whatever reason, that's fine. After I show you how to do it, I'll just show you a base version. So basically what I did was... So the original version looks like this. We just remove these pieces, and like so. Now, what I did was, first of all, I moved the fuel tanks to the front here. I removed the windows and put the fuel tanks there. And then what I did is I got these wing pieces, and I snapped them to each side like so. And then you can just simply snap these engines to the back like this. And I didn't like how they were just hanging, so I got these Nova cowling pieces, and you can snap them here, but I wanted to snap them a little bit further so that they kind of felt like they were like supporting it. So you see it's red, but if you try and flip it back and then let go of it, it snaps perfectly into place. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. We'll just bring it in, flip it, let go of it. There's an error. I figure what the error is, because everything else should be attached. What's the error? What are we dealing with here? Oh, okay. Is this here? Gonna grab all of it. Oh, you're not connected? Okay, so for some reason that wasn't connected. We're gonna put that back like so. And then we're gonna just, like I said, make it that color. There we go. That was a bit finicky. So as you can see, there's like a little bit of clipping, but there's nothing major in terms of like, because I wanted to kind of keep these back sections here. And it doesn't look too bad. We have that 180 speed, which I feel like is really nice, and we get a little bit of extra mobility. Now with that out of the way, you can, for the reactor here at the bottom, potentially you'd swap it out for a better reactor, because that was part of the other thing too, is the current way it was, or the default way it was configured, we wouldn't have been able to use this reactor here if we want to increase it, because you see how this reactor has a snap point at the back, this one doesn't, but this configuration allows you to basically not need to worry about that. And then there's we've upgraded the shield like so. Can we put this underneath? Okay, so I put this underneath just to hide it. Just because I think it, it doesn't need to be visible. And then, like I said, we upgraded the shield. Now this, for weaponry, the weapons aren't inherently bad, but if you've watched any of these reviews, I usually, when you want to go kind of hard or easy mode, what you want to do is you can do that. I would recommend doing the Vanguard questline, just the first kind of couple of missions. You unlock these Vanguard Obliterator projectors, and you can slap 6 of these on. Now you've got loads of different hard points. That's what's cool about this ship. You've got a lot of different hard points. So you could snap, let's say you could snap 2 there, and then you could snap 2 the other side, and then you can snap 2 there, and like you're pretty much set. Like those weapons on their own will wipe out anything, even on very hard. Now, obviously, the cool thing about this ship is, like I was saying, there's a lot of hard points. So you notice, like, you've got mounting points here, mounting points here, mounting points here and here, mounting point on top. You've got mounting points on bottom. So like you can kind of do whatever you want mounting wise. But this is just if you're the sort of person where you're like, I want good weapons, but I don't really know. If you've done the Vanguard questline, get these ones. If you haven't, use these PB30s, and then just basically same as before. Obviously, with the Vanguard ones, they only require 2 power. With these ones here, it requires 3, but that's still acceptable. You just can only put 4 instead of 6, like so. And there's our weaponry. Now, the only real thing I would change at this point would potentially be, we need a little bit of cargo. Now, I don't know if we're gonna try and put some cargo, potentially. We can actually maybe do 2 birds with 1 stone. So there's this like spot at the back that's kind of visible. So we're gonna see if we can slap some cargo to the back of it. Let me see. Interesting. So this here increases your cargo by 50, but obviously it kind of messes with your mobility. So we can go for like a small one here. This, you can add this here, and it doesn't mess with your mobility at all. But what I would do, this increases your cargo to 430. Now, obviously, I wouldn't mount it there because it looks a bit of an eyesore and there's that gap in the bottom. So we're going to get a structural piece. Just going to find a little decent structural piece. There should be a few here we can work with. Let me see. Ooh. I like me some tails. Can I snap this underneath? Oh, perfect. We add that Deimos tail to the back there, and then we can snap this piece underneath. And we've got that extra cargo. Now, if you wanted a little bit more cargo, like I was showing you earlier, you can sacrifice. You can sacrifice your. You can basically sacrifice your mobility for one of these. So what I would do is I would basically place them in the same location here. Now, obviously, your mobility drops a little bit, but you get 1,000 cargo, which is really, really good. So all in all, that's kind of how I'd suggest configuring the ship, because I feel like you want to keep the cool like aesthetic of it, especially these little landing gear. And it's nice just having the 180 speed. Now, if you weren't going to go the route of 180 speed, you can keep this majority the same. You just have to delete these these pieces here, like so. And then we're just going to put the original engines back on. But we'll put better ones, obviously. Where are they? So we put these here, like so. One there, and one there. And obviously, that's you back to your 150 speed. You lose a bit of mobility. But yeah, like, for the most part, like, I would probably say, like, because I know some people comment and they're, like, worried about using, like, merge techniques. And I wouldn't really worry about it because it's not the sort of thing that we, like, they're not going to get rid of it because it's just a cosmetic thing. But anyway, that's the ship. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys flown the Raptor? I feel like if it's a very elusive ship, and if you find it airily, it's probably one of the best ships you'll fly just because how it looks and it, like, kind of feels in a weird way. But yeah, let me know if you guys flown it and if you configured it. Let me know what you think of this customization. Do you guys like the aesthetic? Because I know some people like having the speed, but you're kind of like it's a bit. Some people might not like it how it's like extended out. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this sort of content, and check out some of my other reviews. Bye bye.